I became a medical marijuana recommender about 3 months ago. I've learned a lot, and I actually think I've helped a bunch of people. In this video, I'm going to share with you my early experiences recommending medical marijuana to help people impacted by MS. Don't turn away, because that starts right now. Howdy! Thanks for learning about MS with me, Aaron Boster. I started this YouTube channel to help my own MS clinic patients learn between visits, and it's my hope that through these videos, I can help you learn too. I became a medical marijuana recommender here in my state of Ohio about 3 months ago. Now, two quick disclaimers. Number one, I am not a medical marijuana expert. I am an MS doctor taking care of people impacted by MS at my center, and I'm offering medical marijuana because I feel ethically and medically it's the right thing to do. I am also not promoting illegal use of cannabis. I am not promoting medical marijuana, and I insist that you talk to your doctor about what's right for you. This video is nothing more than my own personal opinion and my own experiences trying to help people impacted by MS using medical marijuana. A little bit of Cannabis Science 101. So cannabis is a plant. It's a marijuana plant. Weed, ganja, you're talking about something that grows in the ground. And that cannabis plant produces chemicals called cannabinoids. So the two most common cannabinoids are THC and CBD. And we believe that those two cannabinoids are responsible for many of the recreational and medical benefits that you might see with cannabis. Cannabis has been used both recreationally and medically for centuries. And recently in the United States, various states of the Union have approved cannabis use either recreationally or medically. Here in the state of Ohio, it's available medically under certain diagnoses. The science supporting cannabis isn't awesome. The quality of the studies leave a little bit lacking. But anecdotally, I am a firm believer that cannabis can help with many symptoms that plague folks with MS. And now the first question of the day. Which is the least pro-inflammatory? Smoking medical marijuana, vaping medical marijuana, or eating medical marijuana? Jot down your response and stay tuned to the end of the lecture to find out the correct answer. And our second question of the day, which works the fastest? Smoking medical marijuana, vaping medical marijuana, or eating medical marijuana? Again, jot down your answer and stay tuned to the end, and I'll tell you the correct response. What I've seen in my clinic is that most people who are pursuing a medical marijuana card are seeking improvements in one of three set of symptoms. Either spasticity that's hard to control, with spasms of their limbs, cramps that are painful like Charlie horses, or limbs that are hard to bend. Number two would be forms of chronic pain, various kinds of neuropathic pain. And number three would be mood issues, depression and anxiety, and in specific irritability. Now, I've learned a lot in working with patients, and I've had a couple really exciting success stories. One patient in particular has rather medically and surgically refractory trigeminal neuralgia. He has a horrible bone-chilling pain in his face, which can drop him. And we have used multiple different neuropathic pain medicines, anti-epileptics, and other medicines to try to help with the pain. We've had surgeries, and we still have not achieved a high success of pain control. Enter cannabis. He started off using low-dose 5 milligram pills that dissolved under his mouth, and quite honestly, that wasn't a high enough dose. He then tried an edible at a slightly higher dose and noticed that it helped, but it didn't work fast enough. He's now exploring using a vape pen to have a very fast onset to help with this pain because we have found that cannabis works. We just need it to work quicker. I'm actually very excited for him, and it's my hope that using anti-epileptic medicines in the background and then using a marijuana vape pen for acute pain will be successful in helping his pain and completely avoiding the use of narcotics. Now, from a side effect standpoint, I have to share that I haven't heard about very many side effects. Some patients have told me that they've had the munchies, they've gotten hungry, and they've eaten more at night, and they've gained some weight. I've had one patient tell me that he felt unsteady on his feet if he used too high of a dose. And I've had some patients that have simply found that cannabis didn't help them with their neuropathic pain or their spasticity. Now, what are people impacted by MS complaining about as it relates to medical marijuana? What are the things that bother them? The first one is that it's an Ohio law. So the medical marijuana card gives them access to cannabis dispensaries in the state of Ohio, but they can't cross state lines. And that's been a problem for some people. I take care of a bunch of people that live outside of the state of Ohio, and obviously I can't recommend medical marijuana to them. Much to my surprise, many of my patients have concealed carries, so they have a license to carry a firearm under their clothes. And apparently in that paperwork, it states that you can't use a Schedule I substance. And federally, cannabis is considered a Schedule I substance. And so it's our belief that you can't hold both a concealed carry card and a medical marijuana recommender's card. A patient's husband brought up concerns about being placed on a government list. And I had to share with him, frankly, that yes, that you're being added to a government list if you become a medical marijuana patient here in the state of Ohio. The process of registering the patient, and in this case a caregiver, is including them on that government list. And so that's something that, if that bothers you, you need to know that before you sign up. It's also relevant that the state of Ohio medical marijuana law still does not protect you against your employer. And so if you had a qualifying diagnosis like multiple sclerosis and you sought out a recommender's card from a recommender like myself and you purchased cannabis legally at a dispensary, you could still run into problems at your job if there's a policy against use. Now, what's the cost of legal medical marijuana? It is true that the cost of cannabis products in a dispensary might be more expensive as compared to like Dealer Don on the corner, but we're talking about something very, very different. In my opinion, despite the cost of getting a medical marijuana card, I think the better part of valor is to have a good sense of what I'm purchasing, where it's coming from, the exact dosing, etc. I think that's of value, and in my opinion, that's probably worth that cost. Now, if you've made it this far in the video, I'm going to drop some knowledge on you about the routes of administration and how that changes everything. The way that you take in cannabis affects a lot. If you smoke cannabis as compared to if you vape it, as compared to if you eat it, as compared to if you use a sublingual tincture, it's going to have a major big difference in the effect on how quickly it works, the onset, the duration, how long it works, the intensity, how much it works. The cardiovascular risk is different with different routes of administration, and the amount of pro-inflammatory activity in the body depends on the route of administration. So the way that you ingest cannabis matters a lot. Let's first discuss smoking. So when you smoke cannabis, you're taking plant matter, you're lighting it on fire, and smoke is coming off, and then you're breathing in that smoke. And when you breathe in the smoke, it goes down into your lungs, and it crosses the alveoli, and those chemicals are absorbed into the bloodstream. Then they circulate in the bloodstream, and they go throughout your body. Smoking has a very fast onset of action. It works very, very quickly. If you smoke marijuana, you're going to feel an effect within minutes. I strongly encourage people not to consume marijuana by smoking it. The reason is the cardiovascular risk factors. We've known for a very long time that smoking tobacco is bad for you. And specifically in MS, it's particularly bad for you. Smoking tobacco speeds up MS disease activity. I'm very concerned that smoking cannabis may do the same thing, because breathing in smoke from carbon-based stuff is extremely pro-inflammatory, not just to the lungs, but to the whole body. It increases, in my opinion, the pro-inflammatory milieu in the body. It increases the risk of focal bronchitis and lung problems. It is not what I would recommend. In fact, in the state of Ohio, it's actually illegal to smoke marijuana. It's not how I would recommend taking it. Now, vaping marijuana is where you heat up cannabis below the level of combustion. So there's no fire and there's no smoke. But you heat it up enough that you let off vapor, and the vapor has those cannabinoids, THC and CBD, in the vapor that you breathe in. Now, vaping has not been studied very much, but logically, I would think that vaping is less pro-inflammatory than smoking. It has an advantage that it's still a very fast onset, almost as fast as when you smoke. There's different kinds of vaping. There's where you take the flower, what when I was growing up we called weed or bud, and you heat up the flower itself and the vapor comes off. Another way of vaping is that you can actually vape a liquid, which is a concentrated oil extract of THC and CBD. Now, as I mentioned, in both cases, vaping is very quick onset of action. Also, vaping can be done in a pen that's very discreet. You could keep it in your pocket or your purse, and there is no smell or a very low smell as compared to when you smoke cannabis and it's kind of stinky. I think that vaping is less pro-inflammatory than smoking. It's still, however, probably somewhat pro-inflammatory. And if you're vaping oil, you have to wonder if there's any additives that have been mixed in with the oil that might not be a healthy option. A third way to consume cannabis is to literally eat it, and you can buy edibles. Now, in edible, they take cannabis and they have to activate it either by heating it up or by putting it under pressure, and that makes it active even though you're not going to smoke it or vape it. You can mix it in with various products that are edible, and at a dispensary you can purchase all kinds of different THC-laden honey, THC-laden gummy bears, lozenges, lollipops, etc. Now, the advantage of eating cannabis is many. It's the least pro-inflammatory to the body, and in my mind it gives you the broadest coverage over the course of the day. It's discreet, it obviously doesn't smell very bad at all. The downside of eating cannabis is that it has a very slow onset of action. So if you vape cannabis or if you were to smoke cannabis, you're going to feel an effect within minutes. Whereas if you eat cannabis, you're going to see an effect occur over several hours. And so it's not something that you can take quickly with a quick response. Also, depending on the dose of cannabis that you require, purchasing edibles can become somewhat expensive, and that's another consideration. Sorry guys, my camera was about to die, so I had to bring the operation inside. I'll finish the video in here. A fourth way to consume cannabis is through a tincture, where you have a dropper and you put drops under your tongue and it's absorbed into the blood vessels in your mouth. And that's also a very low pro-inflammatory way of taking in cannabis. I don't think it's as nearly as pro-inflammatory as smoking or vaping. It's much more like eating, but it can work a lot faster. I also think one of the advantages of tincture is you can use really, really small doses. Which is the least pro-inflammatory? It's not smoking, that's very pro-inflammatory. And it's not vaping. The least pro-inflammatory is to eat cannabis. Which works the fastest? The answer is smoking marijuana, although vaping works very quickly as well. Eating marijuana has a very slow onset of action. Hey Village, I want to learn more from you. Please share with me your experiences and how medical marijuana helped you with your symptoms. Please leave comments down in the section below. Also, what is your preferred method of dosing medical marijuana and why? I look forward to reading your answers, and so does the rest of this village. If you'd like to learn more about medical marijuana and multiple sclerosis, click the video on your screen right now. Go ahead and click it. My name's Aaron Boster, and thank you for learning about MS with me. Until my next video or my next live stream, or the next time I see you in clinic, be safe and take care.